line was. They called a surveyor and it was $3,800 to do outlines. Just, yeah. Yeah.
No big words.
It's been over $4,000 to
No
have
big
ours.
words.
Have our-
Those numbers.
They have the whole
Always have
thing
to look
surveyed.
over
They
it.
won't
That's
just
what
go
one
on-
time I've read it.
They used
I
to
had to
just,
read it
you
2 or 3
know, a lot of people, when I was looking in the course,
I was reading
they would
reading
take
one here,
also,
and I-
let's not find your corners.
spell correct.
So you mark the corners and you know where your corner is and you're good to go. So we tried
And
to
I'm,
do that.
and I'm saying.
Oh, I need to get focused.
Just waiting for the clock to hit 7 back there. That's all.
Right.
Call to order. Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Kushner,
Here.
Osborne,
Here.
Latari,
Here,
Jones,
Here.
Euler.
Here. Approval of city council minutes.
Move to approve.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
yes,
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Adoption of agenda.
Motion to approve.
Pick one.
Yeah.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
yes,
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Proclamations. National First Responders Day proclamation. National First Responders Day proclamation, Public Works, October 28th. National First Responders Day proclamation, October 28th, 2024 proclamation. Whereas first responders, including public works professionals, firefighters, police officers, emergency medical technicians, 911 operators, paramedics, and other emergency personnel stand on the front lines of our communities, selflessly serving and protecting the citizens of Warrensburg in times of crisis. And whereas first responders respond swiftly and courageously to emergencies, often putting their own lives at risk to ensure the safety and well-being of others, whether natural disasters, accidents, medical emergencies, or public health and safety threats. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and other first responder efforts in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2024 marks the 6th annual National First Responders Day, sponsored with bipartisan resolution in the United States Senate and House. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Bruce D. Euler, along with the City Council, do hereby designate October 28th, 2024 as National First Responders Day. I urge all citizens to join with the American Public Works Association and government agencies to pay tribute to our public works first responders, along with law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, emergency medical technicians, 911 operators, and other emergency personnel, and recognize their substantial contributions to protect our national health, safety, and advance quality of life for all. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and seal this 28th day of October, 2024. Like me. Thank you. Bill, let me give you. Oh.
Thank you.
Sure. Item 6, public hearing. Public hearing on sewer rate charges effective on or after November 1, 2024. Presented by Carolyn Tuway, Finance Officer.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, members of council. This public hearing is for the sewer rate charges for FY 25. And it's a follow-up on the Raptalis study that was done for the city. And was presented to council in February 23 and adopted in April 23. And during that public hearing, there was 2 options, either to raise the rates in April 23, October 23, and October 24, or April 23 and October 24. And that time, we went with option B, which was to raise them in April 23 and October of this year, but we weren't able to do it by October, so we're doing it on November 1st. And this, the rates are being raised mostly because of the bonds, the sewer revenue bonds that will be issued for the upgrade of our wastewater treatment plants so that we can meet regulatory standard. And before you on page 2, there's how much the rates will be increased by. And currently the base rate for the residential rates are $15.28, and they will be going to $16.66. Questions?
Has anyone signed up for the public hearing comments?
Thank you. Okay. These are all for public comments. Annie Cooper. Okay, so I'll go down the list since this is really for our parents, is not listed on the agenda. So Audrey Lightfoot, same. Okay. Bridget. Okay. Carson. Is this for a class? You guys here for a class? I thought so.
You just got an F.
All right, Anna. Matthew. All right, Katie. All right, well, thank you. Thanks for coming though. We appreciate it very much. We'll close the public hearing portion then. Thank you, Carolyn. Item 7. An ordinance establish sewer base rate charges for the remaining of fiscal year 2025 budget for the city of Warrensburg, presented by Caroline Two-Way, Finance Officer.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. This is an ordinance for the same.
So this was discussed in 23. Is that when we discussed it in 23?
Yes.
At the time we were going for the bond.
Yes,
Okay. And then we had selected Plan B,
yes.
which raised it. I'd have to go back, but raised it initially in October of that first year. And then we skipped one and went on to raise it a year later. Is that right?
It was raised in April of 23. You skipped October 23 and then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, we're good.
Any comments? No? That was the first and second reading ordinance.
Okay, motion to move to second reading by title only, please.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
yes,
Jones? Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance establishing sewer-based rate charges for the remaining of fiscal year 2025 budget for the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
yes,
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 7.2, an ordinance authorizing the city manager and the city clerk to accept a proposal under engineer services agreement with Engineering Survey and Services LLC for the Lions Lake Improvement Project, presented by Phil Ladlich, Interim Director of Public Works. Phil.
Evening, Mayor, City Council. So as y'all know, Lions Lake, we are looking at doing some improvements on the project to help the bank stabilization, the trails, cleaning out the lake a little bit, putting in some safer walkways. We've sent out an RFQ in August and we got 3 qualifications back. And we had a selection committee and we chose engineering surveys and services to do this engineering portion for this. We've got a price of $184,500 that will be taken from the ARPA funds so that we can go ahead and get this project engineered and get the ARPA funds to do the project secure or obligated. And staff is recommending that we go ahead with this. And if there's any questions.
The on the Lions Lake project, I know there's different items
Mhm.
that are hoped to be accomplished.
Yep.
So you have dredging of the lake.
Right.
Then you have the improvement of the path, making the path ADA.
Compliant.
Okay, and does that include, when I was looking at it, I thought it said that it was going to try and make the path come from the upper
The upper part.
all the way down? That's like the highest part of the lake. How are you going, if you can only do one inch per 12 inch in elevation, how are you gonna get all the way down to the lake when you're way up?
We're gonna have to see about what the engineers propose and figure out a way to do that safely within ADA compliance.
Okay, and then that would take them from the upper level off of Hillick Road down the east side. You're thinking the east side of the hill?
First, they'll have to have cutbacks.
Well, yeah, like switchbacks, like going up a mountain,
Yep.
um,
And then we'll take them all the way
to
down
the bridge.
the path that's already started there and to the bridge, or we're proposing a floating docking system that would go across the water.
Okay, so the path that's already there,
is like at an angle like this, so you would have to dig it in. And how wide does that have to be?
I think it has to be 36 inches.
Okay, so then they can get to the bridge and then get to the east side of Lions Lake and go around. They should then be able to go all the way around to, all the way around.
Yes, they would have to.
They
walk
wouldn't,
on
they wouldn't be able to go back up to where they parked unless they went back to where the bridge is.
Well, if they walked up to where the path connects to the road that's closed. I don't want to be
Rotary?
Rotary. And they could walk that path back to where they go up.
Okay, well, I'm thinking wheelchair.
Well, that path will hopefully be able to make it ADA compliant all the way, all along that southwest hill there.
Yes,
Looking at making that whole path, a path along that area, ADA compliant.
okay. Wow, okay. So dredging first, then path.
So that's why we're hiring the engineers to find out where we can get the
The most,
best use of our ARPA funds for this project. So,
that area has become very, very popular. You can go by just about any time during the day and there are quite a few people there. Are there any plans to try and, do something about the geese and the fact that the geese, poop all over? So if you have somebody that's in a wheelchair and they're, maneuvering
and to get
down the
that-
path, then they're going to have,
That wasn't really brought up, but we can look into it.
I know that, Public Works brought over something one day. A lady told me that somebody came over and hosed off underneath the mushroom.
Yeah.
So that they could walk around, but otherwise it's thick with geese. Cause people are feeding. That's another thing is we should ask people not to feed them. They're bringing large bags of food. And the geese
We might try to do
recognizes the
some
lady
Education in that, so that we can cut down on the amount of geese there.
and then maybe work with conservation to try and chase off the geese. A few is not bad. Hundreds is a problem.
Very true.
Thank
We'll
you.
work on it.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments?
I move to approve the resolution.
Second reading,
Oh,
First and second.
where?
7.2.
7.2.
It wasn't the first
Ah.
reading of an ordinance.
My mistake. Motion to move motion to move to second reading by title only.
Thank you. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari,
yes,
Jones.
Yes,
Euler.
Yes,
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to accept a proposal under engineer services agreement with Engineering Survey and Services LLC for the Lions Lake Improvement Project. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari,
yes,
Jones.
yes,
Euler.
yes.
Thank you.
Item 8.1, under other business, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri, supporting and authorizing staff to apply for a fiscal year 2025 Historic Preservation Fund Grant for historic preservation design guidelines for commercial building in the City of Warrensburg, presented by Barbara Carroll, Director of Community Development. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. This is a request coming through from the Historic Preservation Commission. They voted at their last meeting to seek a grant through the State Historic Preservation Office. And that would be, they considered a couple different projects, but ultimately selected the project that would create a set of historic preservation design guidelines for commercial buildings in the city of Warrensburg. That would be citywide, not just in the downtown area or the much older part of town, but anywhere throughout Young Street, Young, McGuire, Russell, any of our commercial corridors where we have commercial buildings. And that would be a working document. So a consultant would be hired that would develop the guidelines, and then the commission could use that. And Main Street has indicated they would be interested in using that, and they have a member that serves on the Historic Preservation Commission. When meeting with building owners to discuss rehabilitation to properties. So the design guidelines would have graphics and illustrations for different building types and show what types of rehabilitation is appropriate for that age and period and style of building. So it was meant to be a resource and a tool for people who are looking to do work on their buildings. It would also be used in the city where we have designated local landmarks or local landmark districts. Those are put in place through the Historic Preservation Commission, up through the Planning and Zoning Commission, and ultimately approved by City Council. And there's always a resolution designating them as a local landmark or a local landmark district. And in it, it will say when work is done to them, how that work should be evaluated for a certificate of appropriateness. And right now, it generically says by the Secretary of Interior's standards. And this document could be used to be more specific than that general national document is. So it would be their intent to use it on those. Those are different than National Register designations. So this would not, it could influence if a person wanted to use them for work on a National Register place, but simply being a National Register building would not require you to use these guidelines. This grant application that they are seeking is a 60-40 match, and the 40% local match, it's a reimbursement grant. So all of that funds would come out of the city's fiscal 26 budget year. So not the year we're currently in, but a year from now, starting October 1. The title on the ordinance, the resolution is the fiscal year 2025 Historic Preservation Fund Grant. That is a, let me make sure. That is the Missouri's fiscal 25, which starts July 1. So we will apply in Missouri's fiscal 25. That application goes in late this fall, if approved by you all tonight. And then it would be about a year from now before we would have money and an agreement and we could start spending money. And so that's why it will not encumber in your budget until fiscal 26. So approval of the resolution tonight would be to approve staff to prepare and submit the application documents. The application is for $32,436 in federal grant funds and a local match of $21,625. And that will actually, there's an error in the resolution. It's local cash. It's not in kind. It's a cash match, not an in-kind match. And so that would, this would commit us to budget that in your fiscal 26 if you approve it this evening. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments? Okay, there's a resolution.
Move to pass said resolution as corrected by staff.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
yes,
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 9, appearances to the council not listed on the
No.
agenda.
8.2.
That's an 8.2.
Oh, yes.
Yes, sorry about that. Item 8.2, a resolution approving the installation of public art by Warrensburg Main Street on the fence in the activated alley between Colton Street and West Pine Street, presented by Marcy Barnhart, City of Warrensburg Staff Liaison for the Warrensburg Arts Commission, and Allison Robbins, Chair of the Warrensburg Arts Commission. And Jamie too, I guess.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Tonight, we do have Allison Robbins as the Chair of the Warrensburg Arts Commission, Jamie DeBecker from the Director of Warrensburg Main Street. I'm going to give you a little background regarding the resolution that's before you tonight. Resolution is to approve installation of public art by Warrensburg Main Street on the fence in the activated alley between Colton Street and West Pine Street. Warrensburg Main Street is proposing a placement of a beaded sun catcher on the fence of the activated alley. Warrensburg Main Street will install the project and be responsible for maintenance. Warrensburg Arts Commission received and approved the project at their September 16th meeting. They did approve that project. It is before you in your packet. The proposal is. Now I turn the floor over because I am just the mouthpiece. These are the two individuals behind me, the two organizations that are making it happen. And so I'd like to have them have an opportunity to talk about their project. Sure.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So we proposed this project. We have an art committee through our design committee at Warrensburg Main Street. And we wanted to bring something that was a little more colorful, but you could have your community be involved with. So we actually started this summer around August, September, creating small little beaded sun catchers. And really it's just 4 beads that are colorful. They're glass or plastic, and they're on a T-hook, and then they are on like a jewelry charm. So we had people at the Berg Fest, Farmers Market, Moonlight Market, start to have their hand in it. So it's really anywhere from adults to children who have helped put all that together, and just kind of see a way that we can add a little bit of color and creativity to that activated alley in a different way than just murals on the side of a building. So we did do that. We've been working with the Art Commission. We wanted something that was more of an installment that could be, if one fell off or was pulled down, we would have some backup. So we currently already have 500 that are made through our community, and we'll continue to build those until that fence panel, if approved, is all colorful, but it should be well weather permitted, as well as something that will add a little color to our downtown.
Yeah, and the questions the Arts Commission asked were primarily about how the beads would be attached to the fence. We weren't sure that it was going to be the people putting them on the fence, but that Main Street is doing that. So the actual installation is done by Main Street and volunteers, and the beads are done in advance.
Correct. Yes. Well, we do have a dedicated group of about 10 individuals who've already said they would help us install them, and they're through a jewelry hook. There's probably an actual name for that, but it will be there. And then we plan on putting a little bit of super glue so the beads can't be falling off or down. And then making sure those are actually on there and really secured. So even if they are pulled off, we have replacements in the background.
Staff does recommend this resolution before you be approved. If this resolution is approved, Warrensburg Main Street would be responsible for providing a written plan for installation and a timeline. Are there any questions regarding the resolution before you?
So the beads are going to be hung not individually, but each strand that you have will be hung on the fence.
Yeah, so the fence panels that make the diamond, and each diamond you'll have one bead
In the middle of it.
Yes.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right.
And there's about 1,200 per small 6-foot, 8-foot panel. So we're a portion of the way there.
I like that you included a picture. Yeah, that helped.
No question.
No
Any
question.
questions, comments?
Move to pass.
Susie? No.
Move to pass said resolution.
Thank you.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're still here.
We're
All
just
right.
still here.
All right. Item 8.3, a resolution approving the mulberry tree bench proposal from the Warrensburg Arts Commission, presented by Marcy and Allison again.
Good evening. So excited to bring you this proposal tonight. Before you have a resolution approving the Warrensburg Arts Commission mulberry tree bench proposal. In April of 24, the large black mulberry tree was removed that was located at 205 North McGuire Street after it was deemed unsafe by the city of Warrensburg and the property owner. The pieces currently are being stored at the Warrensburg Public Works Material Barn. The community members had an outreach through social media and other engagement with city leadership and administration. And following that, the Warrensburg Arts Commission was asked to develop a proposal, something using the wood that came from the tree, utilizing the percent for the arts that would be generated from the Rethink McGuire project. And before you do have that proposal in your packet of I'm gonna have Allison, because she has done an incredible amount of work researching and interviewing. And I know Council Member Osborne has as well with this project. So please, if you have anything to interject, please do, Councilman Osborne. But they have come together, and the Arts and Public Places Committee and the Warrensburg Arts Commission did approve the proposal that is before you tonight. I'm gonna turn the floor over to Allison, who'll give you a little bit more background about the project.
So we explored different things to do with mulberry tree wood. And the one that we have proposed is the one that is the most cost efficient and uses a significant portion of the tree because it is a large tree. I think the main thing that we faced with turning the tree into smaller objects is that the tree would have been needed to be taken to a sawmill, kiln dried, stored, and the wood preparation just for doing something that with a tree it made it out of reach. The proposal that we found that did work is a proposal by an artist in Sedalia. His name is Nick Barrow. He is a chainsaw sculptor. And he came out, in addition to him, other people came out and looked at the tree, but he came out and proposed taking the second largest trunk, because there are two trunks, the second largest trunk, and removing kind of the inside of it to create a natural bench out of the existing shape of the tree. His proposal then includes preparing it so that it could be outside, right? So that it doesn't decay fast. The tree, the bench is approved and made, it would need to be restained from year to year to protect the woods. And then his proposal also includes him coming to pick up the large trunk, take it to his shop, turn it into a bench, and then also bringing it back to a green space on McGuire that's created through the Rethink McGuire project. And his proposal is also installing it. So the costs for the bench are indicated in the proposal. The Arts Commission also took to heart a comment on Facebook that was liked by the most people on the thread about the McGuire mulberry tree that suggested having a plaque next to the bench, explaining the historic nature of the tree, and giving some insight as to why that bench was there and what it was. So the Arts Commission added on, in addition to Nick Barrow's proposal, the cost for a plaque installation. At this point, we're not sure where that green space is going to be on McGuire Street, and you probably know more about that project than I do, but that was the recommendation from the city manager as to where the finished bench should go. As Marcy indicated, the costs for the bench will be paid for through the 1% for the arts project, which the city manager, Danielle, when she was in place, indicated that that would be around an $8,000 to $10,000 pot. And this bench comes in at under that. So it's within that cost for 1% for the arts. I can also report that the commission, when they voted and approved for this, did have some concerns, namely that this bench would take the majority of the funds that we got from 1% of the arts that went into the bench. Meaning that left the commission with less funds to work with for any additional projects. But we also agreed that knowing if it was important to the city council to follow through on this mulberry bench, we wanted to give you this option as something to consider. I'm happy to answer any questions too.
Questions?
I just had a quick question regarding maintenance and potential vandalism. I do hate to think that way, but I'm sure you all have had those same thoughts. You know, people used to carve their initials in trees, and I can see something like that happening with this bench. So just wondering, as far as the ongoing maintenance, like you said, you would need to make sure it was stained and preserved every year, but just to kind of make it known that we may need to be doing other kinds of maintenance, and that, we'll still have parts of that tree left in case there need to be sort of replacement parts made or something for any part of that bench that might get damaged. Just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. That was something that was raised in our commission meeting, was about potential vandalism. And we didn't have a great answer to that, to be honest. I think the hope is that if it's put in a relatively well-trafficked area like McGuire Street, I know that, for example, Main Street has had issues with the alley in terms of vandalism too over the years. So that's certainly something that we've talked about and thought about. As far as potential upkeep, we could certainly ask Nick to retain some of the pieces that come off. That's actually a great idea. We could look into that. And also, I think in terms of maintenance for staining, our best guess was that it would take about $250 to $300 worth of stain per year to upkeep. And certainly that's something we could budget within arts and public places to have a little bit more of a cushion if we needed to.
It's not so much a stain, it's more a treatment to preserve the
Thank
wood,
you.
if I'm correct.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the castor oil. So.
Any other comments? We have a resolution.
Motion to approve resolution.
Kushner,
Yeah.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. I also like to thank Phil, Dave, and your crews for getting that tree, managing that tree coming down, because as we found out, the bottom trunk was filled with concrete and the top was wrapped in quite a bit of wire. So we appreciate being able to save as much as you could of the tree, but thank you, Allison. Item 9, appearances to the council not listed on the agenda. I won't ask the students again if you'd like to appear, but you're more than welcome to if you like.
Are the students from a particular class?
Yeah.
Would you tell us what class you're from?
It's about you back to the high school.
I didn't hear that.
Honors. The high school.
Honors government.
Honors government.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're glad you're
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
No, no, okay.
And you've passed again, so.
Yeah, no, thank you. Miscellaneous matters from the mayor and or city council. Anything tonight?
Well, I wanted to talk about bill for bill for changing the topography of a piece of land so that it's buildable, usable for another purpose rather than it being a ditch or a ravine. If you go down Business 50 and you look on either side, you can see where there's quite a few buildings, big buildings that have been built on land that used to be a ravine. And over, like the ambulance district, over probably 15 or 20 years, they backfilled that with rock, concrete, and I don't know, whatever, construction material, and built that building on there. But I see that there's a need for when that is happening, particularly near a residential area or an area where there is a spring or creek, that the runoff, we don't necessarily want that runoff going onto a neighbor's property or going into the creeks or into our stormwater. I don't know, there's some kind of white powdery thing, stuff that comes off of concrete. I don't know what it is. I guess it's concrete mix. That comes off and then it gets all over everything and that gets down into the ditches and the springs and that. So I'm just looking for a way to try and not prevent people from filling and changing, but a way to be doing that with consideration and as a good neighbor to those people that surround them. Maybe by putting some sort of construction barrier around the edge to keep it from migrating outside of the piece of property. What ideas? What do you think? I'm just wanting to kind of look into it, see if it's something that is reasonably possible. I know I feel my property that I have the right to do whatever I want with it. And I don't like anybody telling me what I can or cannot do. But sometimes when we can't fix, well, I don't want to say that word. We can't fix in consideration or not being a good neighbor. And so I think if we were going to do anything that might affect our neighbor, we would be very aware of that and very careful with that. And there is an instance in town where that did not happen. And it took an area that was beautiful with everybody had a beautiful yard. It's all nice, pretty grass from one end of the block to the other end of the block. And now there's a 2-story-foot high pile of stuff.
So I can speak to that. There were changes at the state level that the city has adopted regulations with respect to, and chapter 20 of our code speaks to land disturbance, and there's a permitting process both at the state level and at the local level. And land disturbance includes fill activities.
What kind of activities?
Land disturbance includes fill activities.
Okay.
And so any type of land disturbance activities requires permitting. So if there are land disturbance activities that have not been permitted, that is something that can be brought to the attention of the city and appropriate enforcement action taken. When there is land disturbance activity going on, things like erosion control are required. There, in some instances, is bonding that is required to assure that there's compliance. So while those regulations are relatively new, they've been in place only for the last few years.
Okay.
And some longtime land developers may not be aware of them. Those things, a lot of work was put in public works in the last several years to get those things into step with state requirements.
Okay.
So we do have those tools in place.
Well, I think that's wonderful.
Have we, in particular, I think we've all been, we're talking about maybe one particular site that's creating a lot of consternation, and
I'm not familiar with the particulars. I just I want everybody to know that we, both for vertical construction, but also for land disturbance activities alone, in advance of development, there are permitting and regulatory requirements that the city can enforce.
Okay.
If those are not being enforced, please bring those to the attention of Public Works and the city manager, and we can look into.
Okay, that's perfect.
What's going on.
Okay, because I think we didn't realize that that was there. And so we were trying to take care of it, I don't know, a different way. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Any other items, miscellaneous matters? Discussed.
Dave's guys did a good job on Hawthorne, the ravine that was building in the middle of the road. Cleaned it up nice.
Where?
Right by the park where there's a great big dip.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not there anymore.
Very good.
Thank you. Moving on, item 11, city staff updates. City staff updates, community development, anything? Okay. Item 11.2, city staff updates, fire department, National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, Gold Helmet Department designation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to bring attention to a recent designation that we received. We know we've had a lot of talk about cancer in the fire service and how firefighters are 9% higher, greater risk of having cancer in their lifetime after serving. So about 6 years ago, NIOSH set out to establish the National Firefighter Registry. And the way its main purpose is that the CDC at the federal level to be able to connect the dots with the states as cancer cases are reported and know that they were a firefighter at some point. So as it works without being registered, if I were to have cancer, the state would get that information. Those dots would never get connected that I was a firefighter. So now I can get on, I can enroll when and if that ever happens, they're able to connect those dots. So it's an important piece of the overall process to better understand why it's impacting firefighters. So their goal of getting data started with people that are working now. So everybody over the years, getting that data in so they can start seeing that picture. And then as we bring new folks in, getting them registered later on in their career. So as an extra incentive, they created this gold helmet department designation. So once your department achieved over 50% registration, they recognize you for doing that. So our department was the 14th in the country to achieve this status. So we are helping contribute to that larger issue and research to hopefully improve things in the future.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
Were you able to hire?
We completed the process. We should have offers going out this week. So yes, we did.
So you had a good bunch coming.
Yeah, we ended up with 5 that had made it to the complete end of the process. So we'll.
And you're picking 2.
Hire 2 of them.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I liked your ad. It made it look fun.
It is fun.
Nothing, any other city staff updates? Okay. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.